Hi, today we are studying the book of Bereshith chapter 1, that is Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The Ruach Elohim moved upon the waters. As you can see, this is the Ruach Elohim hovering over the waters. The earth underneath is just complete darkness. The waters are completely covered by darkness. Even the contents of the earth, we cannot see them because there is this darkness covering everything. On the first day, Elohim created light. Then he made day and night. So this is the night, this is the day that Yahuwah Elohim created on the first day. But what is important to note is that the darkness had always been there from the beginning. It was created in the beginning. What was created at this point in time was the light. That is why a day starts with the night and then the day. That's why it's written, it was evening, it was the morning, the first day. It was evening, it was morning, the first day. It's important to understand this because the Western way of looking at things says a day begins at midnight, or some they say in the morning. The morning is here. What about this part? All of this part which has already elapsed. So that is not accurate. A day starts with the night. Why? Because it was there when this one was introduced. It was the darkness already there, then the light was introduced. So a day starts with the night, then the day follows. It's by definition of creation. It's not how somebody feels. It's by definition of creation. That is how it works. On the second day, Yahuwah Elohim created the firmament to divide the waters from the waters. He created the firmament to divide the waters from the waters. That is why the waters beneath were separated from the waters above by the firmament. And he called this firmament heaven. So this is the firmament, this is the heaven the word is talking about. This is the heaven. The firmament had already been created. On the third day, Elohim availed the land and he called it the earth. He called the waters that had been organized together as the seas. That is to say, the waters were pushed, were organized aside as the seas. The land remained bare, and it was called the earth. So now the heaven here, which was created on the previous day, is clear. This is the heaven, usually called the sky. Even on this side, on this left side, it's the same thing. It's just that now we've got the night. That's why we don't see. But it's just like this side. The sky extends to this side. The land extends to this side. Since on this day, he also introduced the vegetation. The earth became more beautiful. The greenish, the other different colors, it became more beautiful than it was before. There were trees that were created, grass, and all other types of vegetation. That was created on the third day. So the earth started to look like this, way more beautiful. On the fourth day, Elohim created the sun, the moon, and stars. The sun, the moon, and stars. The sun he created to govern the day and the night, and seasons, and years, and months. Then the moon was made to govern the night. This implies that the sun took over the responsibility of giving light to the earth. Also, we have got on the fourth day, still on the fourth day, we have got an indirect creation of the fourth day, and that is the calendar. The calendar, because it records the fixed patterns of the sun and the moon. So as you can see, according to the sun, the movements of the sun, you will recall that according to the word, it's the sun that moves. The earth does not move. So according to the movements of the sun in a year, we have got seasons. This is the spring, this is summer, this is autumn, and then we've got winter here. So as you can see, according to the movements of the sun, the first month has 30 days. The second month has 30 days. The third month has 31 days. And that applies to all the seasons. All the seasons, they have got 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, which is 91, 91, 91 days per season. That is according to the movements of the sun around the earth. As the earth itself does not move, it is fixed and it is flat. Probably you may be wondering why our calendar on the very first month, why does it start on the fourth day? Of course, here we have put it as Wednesday. We just use this Western name so that you won't be lost, so that you will know that we are talking about the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, and then the Shabbat, which is called Saturday in English. We use that for that reason. Otherwise, we ought to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is what we ought to write. But for the sake of understanding, we used these Western names of the days. So the first month begins on the fourth day because the sun, the moon, was created on the fourth day. The recording of the sun, the cycles of the sun, they started on the fourth day. You remember that on this day, the first day, the heavens and the earth were created, and the light was created. On the second day, the firmament was created. On the third day, the land and the seas were availed. It's only on the fourth day when the sun, the governor of the days, of the months, of the years, was created. That's why the calendar begins on the fourth day. The recording started on the fourth day. So this is the summary of the calendar. We've got spring, which is the first season of the year. The year starts with spring. When it's spring, you very well know that it's the beginning of the year. It has 30 days in the first month, 30 days in the second month, and 31 in the last month, which is 91, 91, 91, 91 for all the seasons. In total, a year has got 364 days, all of which is divisible by 7. So according to the word, a year has got 364 days, not 365. Not 365. Is it the Gregorian that claims it's 365 days in a year? That is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because it does not represent the cycles of the sun. A real calendar has to represent the movements of the sun in a year perfectly. So a year has got 364 days, not 365, let alone 354. So for those who may not be aware, this calendar, it's the Hanok calendar. You remember Hanok? In Genesis or Bereshit, it's written that he walked with Elohim until he was no more, the seventh from Adam. This is his calendar. This is the calendar that was revealed to him. We are not making this up. So we shall do more technical studies on the calendar when we are discussing the calendar in the book of Hanok. That's where we will also put the movements of the moon on the calendar, because the moon is the secondary witness of the sun. Remember that the sun is the first witness of the days, of the months, of the years. Then the moon, it's the secondary witness, which confirms the cycles of the months, of the years. Because you've got to remember that these bodies, they have got patterns, they have got cycles that are fixed, that determine years, seasons. So when we study the book of Hanok, we'll do a deeper study on the technicalities that are brought forth by the sun and the moon and their cycles. For those who are diehard believers in the Gregorian calendar, you've got to ask yourself this one question. Why does the leap year has 366 days? Because the sun ought to have fixed patterns year after year. So now when there are 66, where does the one day come from? Because it means now the sun at times changes patterns. So on our calendar, we mark the very first activity of the first month. That was the creation of the sun, the moon, and the stars. On the 5th day, Elohim created water creatures and flying creatures. That was on the 5th day. So this is our activity of the 5th day, the creation of the water creatures and the flying creatures. Here they are flying in the heaven, in the sky. The fish happily swimming in the waters. Beautiful creatures. Beautiful. Beautiful. And for somebody to claim that such beauty just exploded into existence is just ridiculous. How can something so beautiful and perfect just explode to existence? On the 6th day, Elohim created land creatures and men. This is the activity on the 6th day. The creation of land creatures and men. So that is the man with the beautiful land creatures that has just been created. Beautiful creatures. Beautiful creatures. So all of them with the man, they were created on the 6th day. Also Elohim gave food for the man and also food for the animals. For the animals, he said they would eat green herbs. For the men, he said they would eat herb-yielding seeds and fruits. A brief look on the name Adam. Adam means red earth, but then in our contemporary language, contemporary English, red earth is brown. So Adam is a brown man. The word brown doesn't even exist still even today. In the Bantu languages, they don't have brown. What they use to depict brown, it's a derivative of a reddish color, reddish, whatever. It could be blood, it's a derivative, the term they use for brown, even today. So let's look at what Wikipedia is saying on the name Adam. Adam literally means red, and there is an etymological connection between Adam and Adama. Adama designating red clay or red ground in a non-theological context. So the man looks like this. Now this picture summarizes everything we have talked about. And if you can tell me, how do you then come up with a ball that is spinning as the earth? Because I hope you have seen, we are just following the word as it is. It was the waters, and then all of this was introduced by Yahuwah Elohim inside the waters. So as a people on earth, we are living inside waters. Our world is just like this, a dome. It's dome-shaped. That is where we live. Up there, down here, it's waters. We are sandwiched by waters. That's our reality. There is no escaping here. You just have to live here. So this notion of a spinning ball, I don't know how it fits, because we followed the word, we got this. A lot of people complain to find the book of Bereshit 1, that is Genesis 1. They complain that it's confusing. It's not confusing. You saw we just followed the word. It's confusing if you have got this science stuff in your head. Once you put that stuff, you want to fit a ball that is spinning here in the definition of how things look like, and then you will be confused. But if you follow the word only, you will get something like this. A flat earth that is stationary, not moving anywhere. What moves around the earth, it's the sun, determining days. It's the moon, it moves. Not the earth. The earth is fixed. As it says, the foundations of the earth were fixed. It's fixed. It's not moving anywhere. So this is our dome shape of the earth. If you can look at this Bantu African housing or African housing, it's as if the Africans, the ancestors of the Africans or the Bantu Africans were saying, we want to preserve, because this is ancient form of housing. It's still there even today in Africa. You will find this. It's as if the ancestors of the Bantus or the Africans, it's as if they were saying, we want to preserve the shape of the earth in our minds and in the minds of our generation. Because this is exactly what we get from the word when we study the creation of the earth. In a lot of people's minds, this is what exists. This is their reality. Intellectual reality, of course. People believe that there is somebody driving a truck upside down. There is somebody on a motorbike upside down. This is just ridiculous, really. But millions and millions of people believe this. When you ask them about this truck, they say it's gravity. The gravity holds this truck. somehow the person in the truck does not feel that he is upside down. As to how, I do not know. So this is the main reason lots of people do not understand the first chapter of Bereshith. That's why. If you have got a problem understanding Genesis 1 or Bereshith 1, this is the problem. You put this in your head, you will be confused. There are dozens and dozens of questions we could ask scientists on this notion of a spinning ball. But here we'll just discuss only one. So the main question is, why do flying objects and objects that move on the ground, why do they use the same formula? Because if the earth was spinning for real, this formula ought to be different for flying objects because of the distance covered by the earth's rotation. That distance ought to be taken care of here before you get an accurate speed. The formula ought to look like this. Speed is equal to distance plus or minus distance covered by the earth all over time. Because as the earth is spinning, depending on the direction of the object, it's either it is subtracting the distance, that's the earth rotation, it's either subtracting or adding on the distance to be covered by the flying object. If scientists truly believe that the earth is a spinning ball, they ought to also show it practically. Just for one, in this formula, they ought to consider that. Still on the rotation of the earth, another question you would have is, why do planes fly from point A to point B? Why do they fly? I mean, the earth is rotating. Why don't they just hover on this one point whilst the earth is shifting beneath? In no time, you would be, let's say you are in Congo. When the earth is shifting beneath, in no time you would be in Brazil, if the earth is really spinning. But because the earth is not spinning, you have to fly from Congo to Brazil. I mean, flying would be very cheap because you wouldn't even need a plane, you would just need a balloon. These balloons which are used for flying, you would just use a balloon to hover just in one point. As you hover in one point, the earth shifting beneath, in no time you are in Congo, in no time you will be in Brazil. That's it. That is if the earth was rotating. But because the earth is not rotating, it's not even revolving around the sun, it's just fixed. Because of all of that, you have to fly from point A to point B. That's it. If you hover over one point, you will just remain there forever. You won't go anywhere. Here Wikipedia says the earth rotates once in about 24 hours with respect to the sun. So as I hinted earlier, why don't we use the same thing? Because somewhere they also said the earth travels at a speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour. So if we hover on one point, say we are here and then we hover on that one point, in an hour we could be 1,000 kilometers away if we use our balloon or a drone or whatever to hover over this one point. Why don't we do just that if the earth is truly rotating? Long story short, if you do not want to be confused intellectually and spiritually, just accept the depiction of the word. This is how the earth looks like. We got this from the word, we didn't make this up. This is what the word says. Of course, some people may say, why do you have got to be bothered about how the earth is shaped? They just don't care. Whether it's a ball, whether it's a circle, whether it's a triangle, they just don't care. So why do we have got to be bothered about the shape of the earth? Well, there are two reasons. The first one is that for us to understand the word, the entire word of Yahuwah Elohim, we've got to understand the earth he created, where we live, according to the way he defines it, because the rest of the word will be talking to that creation. For instance, in the word, you will not find planets, because Yahuwah never created planets. According to the word, there are no planets. They only exist in science. And on those drawings they draw, but in reality there are no planets. So when you have got those things in your head, you will not understand the word very well. That's the first reason. The second reason is that if you have got a different depiction of the earth, you will be gullible to false doctrines of demons. For instance, people will come and teach you that there are planets, and in these planets there are aliens, other beings which will at some point in the future come to the earth. They will teach you that and you will believe it. Why? Because you believe, first of all, that they are planets. You would believe them even though it's not in the creation account. It's a creation account because it talks about what was created. What was not created does not exist. It's just doctrines of demons to confuse people, because there is only one author of confusion. Now let's look at our timeline. Elohim created everything and everyone, including Adam.